Hey, welcome to Caching in the Northwest. You know, this is the podcast from the birthplace of geocaching right here in the great Pacific Northwest. Now, it's Thursday at 9 p.m. Pacific. They call me Chris of the Northwest. And we're going to talk about geocaches and geocachers from here and all around the world. So while you're recharging your cell phone for the fourth time today, we'll be caching in the Northwest. And tonight, we are talking about internet.
Oh, that didn't just happen.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, we're off.
I think it was the dancing that did it. I think the dancing threw everything off. Do you guys dance like that at the club, Jay, or is that just something that you do for the podcast?
I dance like that at the club. I just find a table, sit down,
sure,
have a nice beverage, and start swinging my arms wildly around.
I would love to see you guys at the club.
It seems like one of those things where nothing could possibly go wrong. So.
Except this.
Except apparently
Chris has never looked better if we're being honest.
He looks pensive.
They really got him at the perfect time there.
Yeah.
And
I'm really curious what he's thinking about now.
He does look deep in some sort of a thought.
He does.
Oh, now he's gone.
There we go. Well, folks.
Do I get paid more since it's just the two of us now, or is
you get paid double?
Double. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because I was already it was kind of a false advertising that you guys invited me, and it turns out Wits End wasn't here. I wouldn't have come if it wasn't.
Well, that's the only way we can get you on the show.
You kind of lured me in with a Wits End promise, and now it's not only no Wits End, but no Chris, and I'm left with you.
It sucks for you, doesn't it?
This is a real problem, and I'm
all right.
Like
well,
this
if you
close
be quiet for
to
just
ditching.
A minute, I'm going to go through Chris's stuff here.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Okay.
Hey, look, I'm the guest here, buddy. Let's just cool it.
I think everybody knows how this rolls at this point. So, all right, we're talking about International EarthCache Day 2023 with returning audience favorite, RockChalk.
Was there a survey that I'm unaware of? Somebody took some liberties with that copy.
And I want to point out that favorite was spelled with a U because I wrote it.
Of course. So is that like the opposite of U.S. favorite? It's like does it mean something different to you guys?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. I figured.
It's like a subtle backhanded favorite.
Sure. That makes sense.
There we go.
Hello.
He's back.
Thank goodness you're back, Chris, because Jay has just been off the rails, man. I mean,
yeah.
You're trying to have a professional podcast here, and this guy, I mean, he's ganging up on me.
Wait a minute. It was just one-on-one. How could he be ganging up on you?
It's how he is. It's how Canadians are. He snarkily called me an audience favorite, and then I'm like, please, Chris, come back. And now you're back. So now we can get on with professionalism. Whew. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. You're welcome. How far did I get into that? Because I had called you an audience favorite when I realized, hey, how come nobody else is moving on screen?
No, it would have sounded real if you would have said it. So if you can say it again, that would be just pick up from there.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Perfect.
With returning audience favorite, that's favorite with a U because a Canadian wrote it, RockChalk. As always, live audience, share your thoughts because I missed half of them.
Yeah.
Did we get to the land monkey intro?
Nope.
Yes.
No,
he did it. He did it. Don't let him talk about himself again.
Okay. Oh, I take it he didn't read what I had written then.
No, I haven't even read it yet. Haven't even cold read it.
Wishful thinking on my part. Go ahead, Jay.
I'm going to introduce myself or...
No, I'll do it. It's time to bring in our granite-based gibbon. Some say he's the reason for second opinions. And others say he's faster on his feet than a tap dancing cheetah. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
The reason for second opinions, I think RockChalk would definitely agree with that. Hey, nice book.
I was using it to hold up my microphone.
Oh, were you? I was wondering if you were going to burn it out or something.
Now there's an idea. God, how little do you think of me, Jay, that you think I would burn this fine book?
To stoop to that level?
No, it's perfect for leveling out a table at a restaurant.
It really, truly, this is what it was doing. It was doing a great job of it. And then I thought this was too high. So I decided to move it. Look at that nice picture of him on the back too. He's got signal.
Yeah, that is a great
Cool.
picture of Signal.
Yeah.
Wait, does he have the official permission to reproduce Signal on the back of the book?
That's a good question. Did you, Jay? Did you talk to anybody at HQ about this?
Oh, I think Jay's locked up now suddenly.
There's some great information in here.
Well,
all right. Sorry.
If his microphone was working, he would like to say it's a great time to appreciate the support of our patrons.
That's right. That would include Landsharks, LANDSHARK. Yep, that's right. Z.ca. I went too fast for myself. I wasn't sure if I got all the letters in that word. They are one of our corporate Denali level sponsors. Remember that you can check it all out at landsharks.ca, including other travel adventures that may be coming up. So always check that out. And our other corporate Denali level sponsor, well, that's Gold Country Geotourism. Visit exploregoldcountry.com, learn more about the geotours, the region, the adventure labs, the all kinds of amazing things to check out up in Gold Country. And you can find them on Facebook or download the app. And folks, let me tell you, if you want to know more about supporting this here podcast, well, click that Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website.
Yes, and sharp-eared and possibly sharp-eyed viewers will notice we're one host short tonight. Oh, Wits End.
I noticed.
Unfortunately, Wits End couldn't be with us this evening. So, you know what? As we always say, reach out to him on X. It's just not right. It still doesn't sound right coming out of
Twitter.
Out of the mouth. Yeah.
It's like, what are you talking about? Okay.
The social media formerly known as Twitter.
Gotcha.
And of course, Facebook. Reach out and say hi to him. Tonight, I do have a little bit of news, and I thought this was very interesting. This came across my Google feed. This comes from ubergizmo.com, which, I mean, who doesn't want an Uber Gizmo?
It's not just a gizmo. It's an Uber Gizmo.
That's right.
All right.
So this one is SpaceX has unveiled plans to collaborate with T-Mobile to provide access to its Starlink satellite network for T-Mobile customers. This partnership aims to eliminate cellular dead zones in the United States, particularly in remote areas and challenging terrains where traditional cell towers cannot provide coverage. Starting in 2023, if I'm not mistaken, that means really soon, because
we're running out of 2023.
Yeah, just in case you're listening to this later, this is, prescient. T-Mobile's, quote, coverage above and beyond initiative will utilize Starlink's satellite network to allow customers to connect seamlessly, even in areas with no cellular coverage. The service will be compatible with most existing smartphones on T-Mobile's network. Existing smartphones have satellite capability.
This is where I'm scratching my head, is that we're not talking about the cellular band. So I didn't think that the Starlink satellites supported the cellular band. Now I'm very curious about that.
It will be offered for free with some plans, with potential charges for lower cost plans. A beta launch is expected by the end of 2023, initially supporting text messaging with plans to introduce voice and data capabilities in the future. However, the success of the network depends on SpaceX deployment of the larger Starlink version 2 satellites in 2023, which may require alternative launch methods if there's delays in SpaceX Starship deployment. So,
the larger satellites, are they larger because they've got a cell tower stuck on them?
Must be. Exactly. Yeah. I thought this was absolutely fascinating that cell phones can tap into Starlink.
I'm really curious about how that actually works. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. So I have a brother and a nephew that's using Starlink in Idaho because their local internet is terrible, and they're loving it. They're getting speeds in the 500 megs down range. 20 or so megs up. So, not bad. And the beauty of Starlink, they call it a dish, but it's really just a flat receiver, and it can go with you anywhere. So anywhere you take it, you point it to the sky, you've got internet.
Well, a lot of emergency services are starting to leverage it as well. particularly for like communications in remote areas and such. So it's a great idea.
So there you go. I thought it was great. I mean, last year we saw that the iPhone could use cellular satellite communications for limited text messages. And
That's
now,
oh no, he didn't freeze again.
And now what? What?
Oh, the suspense.
What? Oh my gosh.
We may never know.
And now what?
And yeah, now what? Exactly.
The iPhone limited text messages.
Ah,
Oh my gosh. I hope he remembers what he was saying.
I don't know. This is gonna be interesting to see. He's got definitely a different facial expression this time.
He looks kind of angry this time. He looks
Yeah. Wonder if it's
like he's annoyed,
yeah.
which I don't blame him.
Well, he does have to podcast with me.
Is there a fireplace behind you, Jay?
There is, yeah. This is my
Very nice. You should turn that on during the podcast, like during the winter.
I probably will later in the winter. Right now it's still a little warm.
Yeah, that'd look nice.
Yeah, there you go.
Add a nice ambiance to the proceedings.
Yeah, and then I can change the light behind me to an orange light then just to kind of add to the
Yeah, it would kind of balance out the harsh blue thing that Chris has going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Chris, well, it looks like he's gone for now. So we'll you know what? I'm gonna just take this next line and say
Here's nobody here to stop you, so I'm out.
welcome back to the podcast. Hey, before we get into tonight's topic, which is International EarthCache Day, and I'm very excited to talk about that with you. But we have heard that you just came back from a pretty amazing adventure. Where were you?
We were in Japan.
Ooh.
For the first time. Yeah, actually Asia was for the first time too for me. So yeah, it was a really fantastic trip. We were there for I think about 9 or 10 days, and partly we went to the Formula One race in near Nagoya, and then we were in Kyoto and Tokyo for the rest of our nights, but we also went to Osaka for a day, and we were in Himeji for part of a day. So it was great. It was, it was, I didn't really have expectations per se, and just kind of went into it with, let's see what happens. And it was a lot of fun. And we had the opportunity to meet the reviewer for Japan and spend some time with him, which was really neat. And then he turned us on to some geocachers near Tokyo who we had got together a group of 8 or 9 people. We had dinner one night with all of them, and it was great to hear about the game in Japan and how they're trying to grow the game there. And it was a really, really great trip. Except as we were talking before we went on air, that the jet lag is killing me now. So I'm still not quite sure what's up is down and down is up at this point.
That is some serious jet lag.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of cool stuff that you got to do, the Formula One race. And I saw some photos of you on a particular train.
The Hello Kitty bullet train. That was Mrs. RockChalk's request, and of course we made it happen. So that was what was kind of funny about that is the train is literally, if you Google it, it's just it's a bullet train with I don't know how many cars, and they're all decorated as Hello Kitty. And I expected that there would be like just tons of Hello Kitty fanatics that are there to. But as it turns out, it was, I would guess, 80% of the people there were just going about their day, and they were taking the train to some place.
The next train that came. So
exactly, that just happened to be the train that they took. And the 20% were like Mrs. RockChalk, who was just going crazy about it. So it was a fun moment of the trip for sure.
Very cool.
But no geocaches on the train, of course. That was kind of a bummer.
Yeah, well, I
had to turn off my geocaching brain for a couple hours.
What was the most memorable part overall, would you say, of the adventure to Japan?
I think it was we hosted an event in Tokyo, and it was mostly geocachers from Japan, but there was also a couple from Norway and one from Australia. And so it's just another one of those examples of a moment that I think a lot of us have had, where you get to see how geocaching is this worldwide game that truly does connect us in a way that I had that feeling both at the event and then when we had dinner with that group of geocachers, where I thought I would never have met these folks and certainly never would have had dinner with this wonderful dinner if it wouldn't have been for somebody else telling me about them. And one thing leads to another, and we're all having dinner together. So it was, and just to see how enthusiastic they all were about the game. And yeah, that again, I guess, we have these moments where it all comes down to the community and the people that we get to meet as part of this game.
Very cool. Very cool. Hey, welcome back, Chris.
Hello.
We're gonna do a podcast. You can join us anytime you'd like.
Okay. I might just pop in and out.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, sure.
There's a couple of questions here from the chat I want to throw over at you, RockChalk. The first one from GSM times 2 is, does Mrs. RockChalk geocache?
Yes, she would tell you that she doesn't like any of the preparation or the logging. She wants nothing to do with any of that, but she does enjoy being out there actually geocaching. But she couldn't tell you. We actually joke sometimes. We'll be driving along and I'll just say, "So what have you put together for us today? What's the plan?" And she'll say, "Well, I made a pocket query of a GSAC and." And then I looked at Project GC and came up with a list of she just throws words out. She has no idea what any of them mean. And I think she also just finds that the idea of logging is just work, and she wants nothing to do with any of it. So she goes out, she finds with me a pretty good amount of the time, but none of the other stuff.
There you go. That's awesome.
That is
Follow-up
awesome.
question that can be our segue into tonight's topic from GSM times 2. Well played, GSM times 2. Did you get any Earth caches while you were in Japan?
Well, of course I did. Of course I had to get at least one, and I did get my one. I'm not sure if I did that many more than that. What I found is, at least in the areas that I were, there were not a lot of Earth caches to be found. But of course, I was in more of the urban areas for the most part, like Tokyo and Kyoto and Osaka, and there were a few here and there. But yeah, I wasn't in what I would call a rural area or more of a natural area where maybe you would have found more Earth caches. But I made sure to at least get the one.
Awesome.
Nice. So thank you for that segue, GSM times 2. We're excited for tonight's topic. It's almost that time of the year, International Earth Cache Day, or
Thanksgiving,
or Canadian Thanksgiving. And is International Earth Cache Day appropriate anymore? Should it be reworded to show that it goes over 2 days now?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could call it International Earth Cache Weekend, but day still has something of I don't know, it just has a better ring to it maybe. Okay. And that's been the tradition. So, but I'm sure we're open to to other possibilities, but
marketing wins out.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've got all this swag that says day on it, so I guess we'll stick with day for the time being.
Until you sold out of all those coins, it's going to be International Earth Cache Day.
I was going to say, it wasn't that long ago when it was only one day. It was I don't know, eight years ago or so that you guys switched it to be 2 days.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And it was one of those things where I think people got frustrated because maybe they missed the one day of the weekend and then felt like they missed out. So it just seemed to make more sense to make it a full weekend deal where people had more of an opportunity. It was never meant to be something that was exclusive or anything like that. It was always meant to be something that brought people into earth science and thinking more about going out and finding those earth caches. So I think 2 days has worked out pretty well for the community.
Nice. Now, since this is a celebration coming up, can we learn a little more about the history of earth caching, how it got started? When and where was the first earth cache placed?
Yeah, so the first earth cache was aptly named as EarthCache 1, and it was placed by the original GeoWare, who was Gary Lewis. And Gary worked at the Geological Society of America for a long time. And he placed that first earth cache on January 10th, 2004 in South Duras, which is a small village on the south coast of New South Wales, Australia, about a 2-hour drive from Canberra. So yeah, I kind of wondered if that's, I know Jay, being as into earth caching as you are, I wondered if you had ever done that one, but
haven't made it to that continent yet.
Okay, well, yeah, so there's your something to aspire to.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a pretty cool one. But yeah, Gary was involved with the GSA for a long time, and he still is very involved in earth caching. I believe that he still hosts group trips to various places. So, but even though he doesn't work at the GSA anymore, he's still very connected with earth caching.
Yeah, it's my understanding as well. Really neat guy to talk to if you ever get a chance, for sure.
Yeah, I think the first time I met him was actually at the EarthCache Mega in Duncan, BC, which was right after I started working at HQ. So it must have been in the fall of 2014. And Gary was there, and Matt Dawson, who is the current earth caching guru at the GSA. They were both there, and yeah, that's kind of funny to think back on that event being right up there, kind of sort of in your neck of the woods. Yeah, I know Duncan isn't right next door, but it's closer to you than to me. So
I think that was the first mega I ever got to as well. That was pretty early on in my geocaching and earth caching career. So very cool. Hey, while we're talking about, these guys in the GSA and such, so that was like the first earth cache. But what was how did the idea of earth caching get started? Was there like planning and discussions at HQ that led up to that, or how did that transpire, Chris?
Well, the idea of earth caching actually originated with the Geological Society of America. And I think that's something that's always important to remember and acknowledge, that earth caching is a program of the GSA. We at geocaching.com host the earth caches on our website, but this program is something that was initiated by their organization, and it continues to be an important educational program for them. And it was back in 2003 at a GSA conference, there were some of their members that suggested that the GSA get involved with geocaching. And then that led to a meeting with Geocaching HQ that included also various land managers, maybe most notably the U.S. National Park Service. And I say that because this was 2003 and geocaching had been banned from U.S. national parks just the year prior. So it was a really positive development for the National Park Service to be involved with the discussions about something that might eventually lead to geocaching having a presence again at their parks. And actually, just earlier today, I was meeting with Brian Roth at the office, and I kind of asked him for his memories of it, and it was his recollection that Jeremy Irish was the one from HQ who was the most involved with those discussions back in 2003. And at that initial meeting, there was talk about how could they design a program that could address land manager concerns like the ones that the National Park Service had, and also find a way to educate the community about earth science. And from there, the basic guidelines were developed, and those guidelines for earth caching still form the core of what are those guidelines today.
Wow, that's really informative. Thank you.
You sound so surprised, Jay. I don't know if you meant that, but my gosh, dude. I mean, you're just like, oh my God, Chris actually gave an informative answer.
It was more.
I wasn't expecting that tonight.
Okay, so there was a little bit of that, but it was also just I have for quite a while wanted to have a better understanding of how that all transpired, and you just like completely unpacked it all right there. That like is the gem of the podcast in my eyes. Is that
All right, I can't
five-
drop the mic because it's up on this
Yeah.
thing, but
there you go.
equivalent.
Please stay with us for the rest of the podcast, even though
I was
you
going to
have
do
just-
a Chris of the Northwest and just go.
It's never a flattering pose when I freeze, is it?
Not
The second time was better. I thought the second was better than the first. Actually, he had kind
like
of
angry Chris. The second,
yeah. Well, it was annoyed. He seemed annoyed, but
Oh well, then it really captured me.
yeah, the first time was more of a like confused, but the second time was like you were just irked, and it was like you were talking about the iPhone, you were talking about, and then it was just, and that was it. So
well, those are my two major emotions.
Sure.
Confused and angry.
Yeah. No, I understand. I'm with you on that.
RockChalk, thank you so much. I didn't even know the history of earth caching to that level.
Aren't you glad you tuned in? There you
I
go.
know. I'm glad
you stuck
my
around.
computer didn't lock up that time and I could hear this.
And I will say, seriously, though, for what it's worth, I really do love it when you guys ask questions like this, because sometimes it causes us to be like, okay, because you would think that we would have just an encyclopedia of everything that's happened over the course of 20 something years, and we don't. So it takes somebody asking the question, and then you're like, oh, I guess I'll go ask Brian what he remembers about it. And Brian's like, I think it was Jeremy. And then we start digging around and we find some stuff. And yeah, it's kind of like going back to when you guys hosted Geo Woodstock, Jay, and you were working on your maze exhibit and you wanted some dates, and we're like, well, I don't know, somebody must know these dates, and we didn't have any of it written down. So now we've actually got a document that's kind of based on the questions you asked, and we just keep adding to it when somebody remembers something that happened. So I actually added something about earth caching after you guys brought up the idea for this episode tonight. So
you know what I would love to see next time I come to HQ is if there's like some sort of banner up on the wall that's like a timeline? But it's like in felt, and people just like as new, like, holy crap, you realize this? No, okay, let's go add that. And so like things just like randomly Post-it notes and felt marker gets added to this timeline.
So you need like a 30-foot flannel graph that you can just keep putting marks on.
This is what I want to see when I come visit.
That really is about the level of what I could come up with, actually, is probably maybe not felt, but just a big, huge piece of construction paper. And I'll just, take a marker and.
Okay. Now I have a question. It just popped into my head. I hope I can get it out before my computer locks up, but you never know. Geo-aware. No, I just did that to fool you. It's kind of like a mantle, like it's like the Dread Pirate Roberts, right? Multiple people have become geo-aware, and
it's not a state of being.
It's not a state of being. No, it's a mantle. It's a title that's foisted upon someone.
Yeah, and that's what the EarthCache reviewers have in their reviewer username, and it's something honestly that we've kind of gotten away from in our help center articles and stuff like that. We just call them EarthCache reviewers because it feels like geo-aware is maybe confusing. You just like, what does geo-aware mean? Right. But it's still in the reviewer name for those folks. So yeah, it just means an EarthCache reviewer. And so I believe geo-aware USA 1 is Matt Dawson, who is at the GSA, and then other geo-awares in other countries, like GeoAware DE will be Germany, and USA.
GeoAware CA, yeah,
exactly, yeah. So yeah, but we usually refer to them as EarthCache reviewers now, since it just seems to make it a little easier, especially for people that haven't been around the game as much.
So GeoAware 1 is still active and reviewing.
I believe that that original account is no longer reviewing. So Gary Lewis, that is not a reviewer account anymore. But GeoAware, I'm going to have to look it up now, because I could have sworn Matt Dawson was USA 1, but maybe he's USA 2. While we're sitting, you guys can go ahead. I'll just look it up.
Well,
It won't take me that.
we just want to add another tick on the long flannel graph you're going to be putting up.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for that.
At the start of next week.
Yes. Let's see here.
Well, and I think that'll segue nicely into our next question. But
it is GeoWare USA 1. That's Matt Dawson.
Okay.
And, yeah.
So hopefully he wasn't in the closet as an EarthCache reviewer, because he just came out.
Well, Matt doesn't really review. He's more, like I said, he works with the GSA, and EarthCaching falls under his purview there. But he will give guidance from the GSA at times. But when a cache gets submitted, it is the community volunteer reviewers who are actually the ones that review and publish caches. And then if there's a question for the GSA, then Matt is the contact and provides his input.
Okay.
And if anybody missed it earlier in the unpacking that RockChalk did of the history of EarthCaches and how it came to be, GSA is Geological Society of America, not Geocaching Service Announcement.
Oh, huh. I've been reading these all wrong.
Right? Yeah. No, the GSA, I didn't know. So it was really interesting. Well, there was a whole bunch of really interesting things, but that you shared that EarthCaches are a GSA owned initiative hosted at geocaching.com. I didn't realize that. So that was quite interesting to learn that.
Yeah, exactly. It's their educational program, and we provide the platform for it. But anything that we do in terms of, if we're talking about guidelines or any updates that maybe we have in mind or the community has suggested or reviewers have suggested, then we will correspond with the GSA and get their input on that stuff.
Wow. Really interesting. There you go.
And then just to kind of circle back, Gary Lewis is GeoAware. That's just it. GeoAware. That was his account. And so there is no, and it is still an active account, but it's not a reviewer account. So that's Gary's account.
That's the genesis of the GeoAware name.
Exactly. And I believe he was doing it until maybe around 2015. If my memory serves, and then when he departed the GSA, he kept the account, but Matt Dawson then took over as the primary person there at the GSA for EarthCaching.
Well, you bring up a timeline there, and this is interesting. So once the first EarthCache was placed in 2004, how long was it until we started recognizing International EarthCaching Day?
The first International EarthCaching Day was October 8th of 2006, and that was in conjunction with Earth Science Week. So it was about 2 years after the first EarthCache was placed, and then the first souvenir for International EarthCache Day was in 2014. So it took about 8 years for that first souvenir to come around.
Well, and souvenirs took a while to come around as well. So
that's true.
So talking about the celebration of it, and it's really interesting to know like when it started and when people started getting quote unquote rewarded digitally for it. But like, is handing out souvenirs, is that the motivation for HQ to celebrate International EarthCache Day, or is there more of a reason that HQ celebrates it every year?
Yeah, I think the original message from back in 2006 when the first day was held, I think it's still the same, and that's that we want to encourage, and the GSA wants to encourage people to celebrate the natural beauty of our outdoor geoscience resources. And EarthCaching is a great way to do that, especially, I think we're all biased, but here in the Pacific Northwest, we have some really fantastic EarthCaches in this part of the world. And so, yeah, that was the original message, 17 years ago, and I think it still holds true now. Of course, the souvenirs is important to geocachers as well, but the hope that especially the GSA has, but HQ as well, and I would like to think the community in general, is it's just kind of one of those things that maybe if you're somebody that doesn't always go for earth caches first. And frankly, I'm one of those people. I'm not a geology guy. I'm not an earth science guy. It doesn't come naturally to me. I love caching with Jay when there are earth caches around, because just, hey, what are the answers? And I'll just
okay, settle down and just give me the answers. We don't care why.
No, I'm happy to know why, but it's like and this is something that we talk about a lot at HQ, because one of the things that we see in some of the surveying that we do is a frustration that some folks have with opening up an earth cache page, and it's like, 15 paragraphs of information, and it's like, okay, yeah, this is interesting, but I'm on my smartphone and I'm here, my kids are crying, and I want to spend some time here, but I don't have time to write a dissertation about whatever this topic is. So for people like myself who might tend to, I don't know, I guess I always think of the movie Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and there's this great scene where where the pet store is on fire, and Pee-wee keeps going in to rescue animals, and he keeps passing the snake cage, and he goes after the rabbits and the dogs and the whatever, and he keeps passing the snakes, and he just says, no, I'm not going to do the snakes. That's kind of what earth caching sometimes is for me. I'm like, oh, I'll go to the traditional and the multi and the where I go and the letterbox and the earth cache. I'll save that but okay, maybe this is the weekend that I say, okay, I'm going to pick a good earth cache and I'm going to go out and do it, even though it's one of those things that I maybe tend to shy away from, because I might not feel like I'm up to snuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's. I mean, we could do an entire episode just on like that topic alone there for sure, and we probably will. But
I mean, RockChalk, I have an earth cache out there now. I'll say Joy helped me greatly to create this earth cache, but I did get a DNF on the earth cache. Somebody posted a DNF saying, oh, I'm on vacation, I'm not doing homework. So
that's not a DNF.
That's a DNF. Yeah. So I think
that's more of a did not try than a did not find, but that's another episode.
Exactly. So I don't think you're alone in that feeling of, wow, this seems like a lot of work. I get that as well.
Well, and they're earth caches like any other type of geocaches. The quality varies, right?
The quality varies, yeah. And the more you do, the easier they get.
To a degree, but like RockChalk said, sometimes you'll open some up, and I saw a comment from GSM Times too. He once did an earth cache. The description was so long that the questions wouldn't even come up on his GPS, right? And especially if you're caching by GPS and you're doing earth caches, that's scroll, right? So, there's different ways to deal with it. There's lots of great resources available on how to create a quality earth cache. So yeah, there you go.
Well, in the chat, it seems like some people already know what they're going to do this weekend. CRS 98 says he's planning on a hike near DuPont with his wife and the GeoPup to Sequalitchu Creek estuary. That's how I'm going to say it's obviously pronounced.
If it phonetically appears that way.
Sequalitchu.
Yeah. UDAC knows which earth cache she's targeting this weekend. So
yeah, but she froze and we never got the answer.
Oh, that happens a lot.
On this podcast, yes.
Dora Moore says, I picked the one I wanted to find this year and then looked at the tide table. Sigh, got to choose another. So
tidal dependent. Yeah.
Hey,
at least she looked at the tide table before she went.
That's true. That's true. So RockChalk, have you picked which earth cache you're going to go do this weekend, or any other earth cache activities you've got planned?
I actually have not picked the exact one. I'm going to be traveling this weekend, so I'm just going to put a couple on the list and hope for the best.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about what people can plan to do for International Earth Caching Day. So from an HQ perspective, RockChalk, what are cachers asked to do? What does HQ do to promote awareness of International EarthCache Day and in support geocachers in doing whatever it is they need to do. And then we're also obviously always curious about how long cachers have to get their caching done and logged. And I know that can be a bit of a tricky question, so maybe we'll leave that to last. But what is supposed to happen on International EarthCache Days?
Yeah, so all non-premium Earth caches are open to everybody throughout the weekend on the geocaching app from 11 o'clock UTC on Friday, October 6th until 10 o'clock UTC on Monday, October 9th. And that's in order to cover time zones across the globe. But I think the easiest way to think about it is get out, find and log an Earth cache on Saturday, October 7th or Sunday, October 8th to get your souvenir, and you'll be golden.
Excuse me, can I ask a question?
No.
Very well, then move on.
Move along. Yeah, Jay, what did you have?
Nothing to see here.
I was just curious if Chris was going to freeze as soon as he asked the question.
Yeah, I might. So let's get it out quickly. All non-premium Earth caches are available on the app. Are they not always available?
Yeah. So no. If you're a basic member, it would not be available to you in the app. You can still see it on the website if you're a basic member.
So for those 2 days,
for non-premium ones,
even basic members can see
exactly
every Earth cache, is what you're saying.
Well, every non-premium, as long as it's not a premium member only.
Okay. So if it's a premium member only, they still can't see it.
Exactly.
Okay. That's why the caveat. Got it.
Right.
Sorry, we have been premium members so long, we no longer remember what the boundaries are.
I'm the same way, and I usually have to look and remind myself, and I'm guessing that most of the folks listening tonight are in the same boat, but just like to put it out there because there will be a little more availability for people who are basic members who exclusively use the app or an API partner app. So, yeah.
Cool. Okay. So, hey, Chris, if there was one key message about International EarthCache Day that HQ would like to really just have resonate with our listeners, with the worldwide community of geocachers, what would that message be?
I think it would just be getting out there and exploring the natural world around you and learning a lesson about it. And again, if you're somebody like me, this is maybe that kick in the pants that you need to go and try one of those Earth caches that you've been putting off for a little bit. And there's just a little bit more motivation for it in terms of that souvenir that you get. But yeah, I think it's just a reminder for all of us, but especially the folks who aren't necessarily focused on Earth caching all the time, that this can be a really exciting cache type. You can learn some really interesting things, especially, we talked about there are really quality ones out there, and there are ones that maybe aren't quite as awesome, but hopefully regardless, they're going to take you to something that you maybe wouldn't have noticed, and maybe you'll learn a little bit of a lesson. I certainly have, even though, as I said, I'm not naturally inclined to earth sciences. I still find myself, learning something that I wouldn't have known otherwise. And again, I'm going to be traveling this weekend, so maybe I end up learning something about a different kind of a topography or landscape than what I would have found here around home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. That's one of the things that I really love about doing Earth caches and virtuals when I travel, because both of those are almost invariably going to bring you to something really interesting. And as you said earlier, RockChalk, we're really lucky here in the Northwest. We've got a huge variety of awesome Earth caches. But when I've traveled to other parts of the continent, other parts of the world, I've found Earth caches where I'm like, this is really interesting. I've never seen this phenomena before. And someone has taken the time to unpack it. And in most cases, in a way that's, I can read through it, I can understand what they're presenting, and I learned a little something. So definitely value there. And of course, virtuals often bring you to a place either of a historic or cultural value, which is often interesting as well. So yeah, I think there's a huge value in them, and I like that message from HQ, and I think that resonates with me.
Yeah, and something that also just came to mind, kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier with the origination of earth caching and how, for instance, the National Park Service here in the U.S. was involved in those conversations, is that oftentimes, as with virtuals, you might find an earth cache in a place where a physical geocache could not have been placed. And so, again, an opportunity to go somewhere maybe that other types of geocaching would not have taken you. So that's another one of those positives about earth caching as well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Hey, is there anything new or different about this year's digital souvenir or other HQ swag for International Earth Cache Day?
Well, they haven't shown me the souvenir yet, and I think that's because they're worried that I'll give something away. Yeah, they know if they tell me about it that I'll come on here and spill everything about it. But so I if I'm just being honest, I can't tell you if there's something new. But there is swag. You can go to Shop Geocaching, and there are a number of different trackable tags and a geocoin and tag set, and there's an earth cache patch and stuff like that. So yeah, if you're into that sort of stuff, it's definitely there.
Nice.
Very cool.
Absolutely. Hey, we had some good questions from the chat here as well. I want to throw these out. So GSM times 2 asks, RockChalk, what's your favorite earth cache you've done?
My favorite earth cache, when people ask about my favorite geocaching experience, it actually is the thing that really comes to mind for me is when we visited Mauna Kea on the island of Hawaii several years ago. And I didn't think we were going to be able to go to the summit of Mauna Kea. There's an observatory up there. There's a webcam up there, and there's an earth cache. But you need, I believe you need 4-wheel drive to take the road all the way to the top. And we didn't have that. And this guy that I went to high school with lived very nearby, and we had gotten dinner with him the night before, and I had mentioned Mauna Kea to him, and he was like, well, I've got a truck. I can take you up there. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So I've got this great memory of going up there. And we actually picked up a couple from, I think they were from Wisconsin. They were at the visitor center, which is about as far as you could go in a regular car. And they had no way to get up either. So they got in the back, and up we went to the top, and it was a beautiful, right around sunset. And it just burned into my brain this amazing memory of that. And it was an earth cache. So yeah, Mauna Kea is still my favorite earth cache.
Wow. That's awesome. What a great story. And like combining, like connecting with an old friend and getting to an amazing location and helping out some other folks. Yeah, what a great memory.
Yeah, that's exactly all of it. It just kind of all comes together to be this. Well, that's my favorite, obviously.
Yeah, that's very cool. Chris of the Northwest, GSM times 2 has the same question for you.
That's a tough one.
It is.
First of all, I don't remember many, because there's a lot of details, but there's one response I remember getting. I want to say it was on Orcas Island. We were waiting for the ferry, and right next to the ferry was an earth cache. Great. I've got plenty of time. Let's go wander and look and did it. And I remember the answer coming from that was, hey, you're the first person to point out this particular aspect, and you got it exactly right. I'm like, oh, hey, how about that?
Good job.
There you go. Apparently I did it right, and I still don't, remember what it was about.
That's funny.
But good response from the cache owner, and it made me feel good, and that's what I remember.
Awesome.
What about you, Land Monkey? What's your favorite earth cache of the millions you have done?
Well, I've done a lot. It's kind of rolling this around in my head a little bit here. It's hard to pick your favorite child. No, it's not.
But no, we all have our favorite child, and we know
right?
it.
We just won't say it. No, probably, and I think kind of like what RockChalk was sharing, like where I have some of my best memories of an overall experience around an Earth cache, I would say a couple of the ones that I did in Iceland really stand out. I mean, for geology, Iceland is just one of the most remarkable places you can go to. Absolutely breathtaking, amazing. And as an Earth cache nut, it was, boy, it's just the right place to be. But of those, and there's so many good ones there, but I'm going to say there's one, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it's basically in the gap. You stand in the gap of the continental divide between the European plate and the North American plate, or the Atlantic plate, and you're standing sort of. There's these two, not very tall, but several meter high stone cliffs on either side, and you're standing on this gravel bed. And once you comprehend what's going on, and you read up on it, and it's moving, these two walls are moving a couple of centimeters a year apart from each other, so you're standing in the gap of where the plates are separating. Like, to me, it was kind of mind-boggling to have that thought, but also just such an amazing location to be in with a group. That was on I think that was on the first Land Sharks trip we went on, first or second anyways. But yeah, a lot of fun. So that my yes, thank you. Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Thank you, CRS98. Good job. So yeah, that would be my favorite. All right. What else have we got? Any other questions, Chris, that you wanted to grab from the chat? That's why he didn't want to grab anything in the chat. I was thinking he's being suspiciously silent. All right.
He seemed very thoughtful that time, and that kind of, was one of his better looks of the night.
I figured he was pondering which question he wanted to bring to the chat.
I'd rank that as his number one freeze, and then I think he went out with a bang there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Good.
We talked about the GSA a fair bit, and the fact that Earth caches are a GSA owned entity hosted by HQ. White Coaster asked, and I don't know if you know the answer to this or not, RockChalk, but maybe let us know if you do. Is the GSA ever going to bring back the EarthCache courses? And I think he's talking about EarthCache Academy that they were hosting for a period.
No, I sure don't know that. I think if you're interested, though, you could definitely send that question over to the GSA, and Matt would probably get back to you. But no, that's not something that has come up in my conversations with them.
Okay, good question, though. It was a fantastic resource. I went through and used it myself when it existed. What else have we got here? I just got a few people. I'll just share a few comments. These aren't questions; they're just some comments of interest. Seebeck Tribe says Annie Organ was able to grab 36 Earth caches in Budapest a few days ago. Wow, that is a lot. Dora Moore shares that she's not hosting International Earth Cache Day dinner this year. Funny. So she's going to be able to get out Saturday for an Earth cache without having to do any cooking first. Nice. That sounds like a bonus. GSM times 2 asks if I was instrumental in getting Earth Cache Day expanded to 2 days. I like to take credit for it. I don't know if I actually have any any validity to that statement.
Feel free to take credit. I
Perfect. Well, you heard it here first, folks. All right. Seebeck Tribe has 3 Earth caches on her radar while taking the long way from Puget Sound to Leavenworth. That sounds like a very fun adventure. Leavenworth, a beautiful place to be any time of the year, but particularly in the winter. What else have we got? Dora Moore logged 12 Earth caches in Ireland last month. Congratulations. Oh, and one of those was her 200th Earth cache find. Congrats on the milestone. What else have we got? Brian Lang is one Earth cache hide away from being a platinum Earth cache master. I'll get the lead out and you can turn that lead into platinum. All right. CRS98 says he has Earth caches where he asks you to do math based on measurements you make while at ground zero. You don't need to log them on site. That's what drafts are for.
Well, I've got a lot of those, believe me.
Yep. What else have we got? GSM times 2 asking the listening audience if any of them have set an Earth cache as premium. If so, why? Great question. So Chris, premium caches, you set a cache, like when you create a geocache, you can set it as premium, and that means that only premium members, so only paying members of geocaching, can see them. Correct? So that's what we're talking about. I just want to make sure I got my facts straight.
Correct.
So what would be the purpose of setting an Earth cache to premium?
I'm not really, I don't know, unless you were concerned that you were going to get more potentially, I don't know, maybe you're afraid that you're going to get newer players who don't read the cache page, or
right.
If they're basic members. I mean, and I'm not saying whether that's valid or not. I could just see that as being something that somebody would think. Or I don't hear it very often, but I've heard some people say that they just set their caches to premium because they just feel like that's what they do. And that's that. If you really, and again, not saying there's any validity to this, but just that, if you really want to, I don't know.
In fairness, that question puts you in a bit of a spot. So
it does. But I've heard people say it like, well, I support the game, and so I want to have, I make all my stuff premium because I think everybody else should. And again, not saying that's right or wrong, just saying I've heard it. Yeah. But I think the first thing I mention is if I was an Earth cache owner, which I'm not yet, and I was going to put it all premium, which I don't think I would, probably the one that would resonate with me is if I had an experience with getting a lot of answers that weren't answers or whatever, and I found that it was mostly players that weren't premium that were doing that. So, but I don't see a lot of premium only Earth caches. It'd be interesting I don't have the stats right off, but
Brian shared that earlier. Hold on.
Really? Okay.
Let's see. Brian, can you just grab that comment you made and put it up on the...
Got it.
There we go. Or Chris got it. So 3,000 premium,
really?
36,000, well, almost 37,000 non-premium. Wow. So, 10%.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, I was reading that backwards at first. All right, that makes a lot more sense. At first, I thought it was
about 10% of them are set to premium.
Okay. At first, I thought it was mostly premium, but this makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, and I mean, so I'll speak for myself, and definitely not speaking for geocaching.com. But I have some Earth caches that I've set as premium. Very few. Most of mine are not premium, and I do occasionally get somebody who just logs. A new player who just logs an Earth cache, and yes, I got to that place you were talking about, found it. And so often if I make it sound like this happens all the time. It doesn't. It's fairly rare. But when it does happen, I will respond back to the person and say, hey, you found an Earth cache. Let me point you to the guidelines on how to log an Earth cache. And I won't delete their find, because if it's a new player, like with only like 10 finds or something like that, I don't want to turn them off the game. But I also want to take the opportunity to say, yeah, technically that's not how you log an Earth cache. Let me help you out here. So there you go. Good question though, GSM times 2. And thank you, Brian, for the stats. Yeah. I think we've gone through just about everything.
We just hit the hour mark. I think I've only been here for about 38 minutes of that hour. So I still feel fresh and ready to go, but I think it's probably time
Save it
to
for the
wrap it
after
up.
show, buddy.
Yeah. I may not be able to go out and find an EarthCache this weekend. I may be at home rebuilding a computer.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, dear.
One that I'm going to throw out the window. But hey, folks, thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. I hope you enjoyed it.
Indeed. And we want to take a moment to thank our corporate Denali level sponsors. That is Landsharks, LANDSHARKZ.ca, and Gold Country Geotourism. Those are both our corporate Denali level sponsors. Landsharks is the outdoor adventure and geocaching store. Check them out online, and they are shipping those online orders daily. And hey, you can even get some of your EarthCache Day, International EarthCache Day swag, order it from them as well. And for absolutely amazing geocaching adventures and plenty of amazing EarthCaches, check out Gold Country. That's Gold Country Geotourism, Gold Country, exploregoldcountry.com. And don't forget to download the app. And folks, we want to thank all of our faithful Denali level supporters, Landsharks, Gold Country Geotourism, but also Team Squirrel, Groovy Owl, Cool Cow Cachers, and Cachly, the geocaching app. If you want to know more about supporting this here little podcast, and if you'd like to contribute to Chris's computer fund, you can go and click on that Patreon link on the cachingandw.com.
Don't you dare.
I didn't freeze.
Don't you dare.
Website.
Like B Pendragon did.
And Antaeus.
Kid Vegas 19.
RE54321.
Great questions in the chat. GSM times 2.
On his way for his honeymoon, GeoNav Pro.
How about our newest patron, Nervous Energies?
Welcome to the family there. My favorite Geo rapper, MC3 Cats.
And the Camp Clan.
And U-Talks 2 Rocks, appropriate for today's show.
Kitty Quest.
M-Nerve.
Green Words.
If you're a spilly drinker, you're going to have a wet coaster.
And Seebeck Tribe.
Subway Mark.
Genies. That's appropriate for today, right?
A few of these names are, including this next one, BC Rock Crawler.
And of course, the LG 9000.
And the Korsgat.
And Segehov.
Skyhawker.
Ooh, Limax.
Peach of Washington.
Kev. MacD.
Helping me remember what EarthCaches I've done. It's CRS 98.
Team Noltex.
Having some fun in the chat as well tonight. It's UDAC.
And Ackerdoc.
Not cooking dinner for International EarthCache Day. It's Dora Moore.
J-Car.
Broncos fan for life.
Gas Station Tuna.
Boomer 365.
Ala Robrick.
Logwork.
Just Carlo.
Rar 285.
Wino Seattle.
Trexer.
Flagman.
Oh, you didn't stand up with your hands on your hip, Chris.
No, I did not.
Another one of our favorites from HQ. Thanks for your support. Mountain Bike.
And another one from HQ, Geocaches.
And last, but certainly not least, Just Finding Our Way.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Now, your support helps keep the quality shows coming. If you like the show, please click on the Patreon link on the cachingandw.com website. If you didn't like the show, I don't know, we learned things here for the first time tonight, so I hope you did too. But let us know what you want us to talk about. In either case, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and give us a review. Now, if you were in a restaurant, you would tip. If you were in a live audience, you would clap. But since you're on a podcast, leave us a free, fast, fabulous, fantastic 5-star review. Of course, you can call into 253-693-TFTC and leave us a comment, ask us a question, or help us out with those pesky EarthCache answers any time of the day or night. I mean, it's okay. You can just help us out there. It would be fine. And of course, you can email us at feedback@cachingNW.com. Join us every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Pacific for a live show and chat. The show is produced by Chris Umfenauer, Jim Paulwitz, Jay Kennedy, and Brian Lang. It's licensed under Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2023 by Chris Umfenauer. And folks, I ask you to stay tuned for
the after show.
I wanted to get through that in one breath, just in case, the computer locked up again.
All right. Well, we know RockChalk is suffering from jet lag. So
Yeah.
if you need to drop, you don't need to stay for the after show.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to bid farewell. I've got that early flight tomorrow too. So it's, it's amazing I lasted this long. But
Thank you.
Especially with Land Monkey haranguing you the whole time.
The whole time? No. I got it all out in the beginning.
he eased up after you started having your issues, Chris. I think he was, I think he was trying to be nice after then. So he knew you weren't here to protect me.
Well, I'm glad I could help out in some way, RockChalk. I'm glad.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me.
Have a safe flight and try to get some good sleep.
I will try. Believe me, I would love that. All right. See you guys.
Bye now.
Cheers. All right. Well, folks, we're still going to go through our FATAS here. Chris and I are, I am. I don't know. We're going to see what Chris does.
That's a good point. UDAC wants to know, are we breaking the internet again?
Only Chris is.
Yeah, it's not all of the internet. It's just my computer that seems to be acting up tonight. So I don't know what's going on. Indeed. I'm sure it's an update that, either needs to be done or has been done and wasn't done right.
There you go. All right. Well, we got a little bit of FATAS here. I see the first one I see is GSM times 2 asking if anybody got any AL credits this week. I got one this week. It surprised me. I wasn't anticipating seeing that. So,
nice.
Yeah. So
I don't believe I got one.
Yeah.
And I'm not logged into my account, so I can't tell at the moment.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
I didn't get an email, but I think I still have one, so they probably wouldn't give it to me.
Yeah, probably not. I would think that would make sense.
So I've got to go use that one up. I've been meaning to.
Yep.
And silly me, what have I been doing? Probably working on my computer and wondering why it's broken. But other than that.
Hey, actually, on that note, I meant to say this as you were closing the show. Folks, if you get out for International EarthCache Day, think about the log you're writing or the experience you're having. Send us either a glow if you visit an interesting EarthCache where you feel that you would like to share the log with us. Send us the glow. We would love to have that. You can send it at feedback@cachingnw.com. And hey, if you are standing at a neat location, you're standing at the side of a waterfall or the
glacial erratic
or the Grand Canyon or the Continental Divide, wherever you're standing as you're observing an EarthCache, why not just call into 253-693-TFTC and just tell us right there and then about your experience. We'd love to have that audio to play on a future podcast.
Exactly. And, having that ambiance of the sound around you, whether it be a crashing waterfall or crickets in a prairie, really adds a lot to the call. So call in from wherever you are.
There you go. On that note, Seebeck Tribe had a FATAS sharing with us that Seebeck Tribe is heading up to grab their 5,000th find if all goes well this weekend. May call it in. Please do. We would love to hear you share about your milestone.
Fantastic.
Chris will probably call you by a different geocaching name, but
I could, or I may not. I think I would use the proper name for the large milestones.
There you go. That's very kind of you.
Yeah. I know she's been working hard trying to get just the right, count to get to where she wanted to be. So
that's tough work.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Awesome. RockChalk has left. So sadly he didn't hear this a little bit, but I'll tell you what, UDAC, I will make sure I send this message to him so he hears it from you, that you enjoyed the summer's Wheel of Challenges and a thanks to GCHQ. I will pass that message on personally on your behalf. Yes, that is awesome feedback.
Nice.
Is that how are we doing here? Did we get through all the fantasises?
I believe we did. There weren't many. Luckily, our chat lackey has been posting that, hey, it's getting to be FATAS time and there aren't any FATASes.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
One less FATAStimize.
And I appreciate the chat lackey helping out in the background tonight. When Chris would disappear and it was just me and RockChalk, and chat lackey was in there with the feedback and the show notes, just making sure that I didn't get lost. So I appreciate that. That was helpful.
We do appreciate our chat lackey. We just have trouble saying it in public where other people can hear us.
Exactly. Hey, just one last thing from me. Well, it probably won't be a last thing, but I'm going to throw in a little shameless self-promotion. Folks, if you are planning to go out and celebrate Canadian Thanksgiving, International EarthCache Day, or you want to be like, I'm not sure about EarthCaches, I remind you that on my landmonkey.ca website, we've got tons of resources there, some great videos and such to walk you through everything you need to know to be able to successfully find and log an EarthCache.
So shameless.
Hey, I'm here to help.
Nice. Look for a low difficulty EarthCache to get started.
Yep.
Get a couple of good wins under your belt before you look at this one and go, man, there are 15 pages of text here. Why is there so many? And then you look at the questions down below and they have nothing to do with the text that you just read. So
please develop your master's thesis now.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
That's all right.
Or there could be one of like, what do you think happened here? How wide do you think this waterfall is? They could be simple ones, right?
Yep.
It doesn't have to be the hard ones. So
for sure. Good advice. And we hope everybody does get out and caches safely and caches often and has a great weekend. For us Canadians, a long weekend.
Nice. Longer than it should be, but you still only get 2 days.
Never longer than it should be. It's never longer than it should be. It's always the right length. Maybe a bit short.
Yeah. Well, happy Thanksgiving to all my Canadian friends. And until next week, get out and get caching in the Northwest.